What is happening, guys? ChrisMinGG here, and today I am reviewing the Dragon Shrine deck list that I have been testing with my playtesting circle. I believe this is really strong. I think it is one of, if not the best ways to play the Shrine deck, the Shrine strategy. And if you've saw the spoiler list for Dragon Majesty, you'll know that the sort of relevant cards and or decks that are coming out of this set are very few and far between, but this is definitely one of them that I think will pop up definitely at the competitive tables. So I'm going to run through the deck list, run through what all the new cards do and individual choices and different ways you can play the deck. So let's start off with one of the new cards. It is the Alteria Flight Song. Your dragon Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakest resistance. So it is a Dragon Diancie, but it's not a Prism Star, so it means that it stacks. You can have multiple of these up, and your active Dragon Pokemon is doing 20, 40, 60, 80, depending on how many Alterias you have. So the damage really snowballs, like some Pokemon that do very little damage suddenly become monsters that can go for the 2-shots or 1-shots. This includes Alteria itself. For a DCE, it does 20, which obviously is not very good, but with more Alterias, it does 40, 60, 80, 100, up to off a DCA. So you start to get to that level in which you go, oh, here, this isn't actually that bad, attacking with the Alteria. So it's just a really strong ability, and at least it has attack that you can actually attack with. So it is in itself a really important combo piece and a engine card. So partnering it, we have obviously a lot of dragons. We have the old Drampa, 120 HP, colorless. Amass search your deck for a basic energy card and attach it to this Pokemon, then shuffle your deck afterward. So it just means that you can turn once, maybe start with this, turn two into a DCE to power Cyclone. Depending how many Alterias you have, this could start knocking out stuff like BB Buzzwole, or just threaten 2-shots on EXGX Pokemon, which is just really good. It's a really solid Pokemon to have. And then the new Drampa, what it does is Dragon Wisdom, 1 colorless 420, and attach 1 basic energy from your discard pile to one of your dragon Pokemon, including itself. So same again, if you start off with like Energy and Ultra Ball, Mysterious Treasure, you can put it in discard, attach an energy, Dragon Wisdom, set itself up, and just power on from there, depending on how many Alterias you have available. Then lastly, for the dragons, the main attacker of the deck is Latios Prism Star. For a DCE, this attack does 50 damage for each of your evolution dragon Pokemon in play, and obviously Alteria is a evolved dragon, so Latios usually always takes a knockout on EXGX Pokemon, so it's just a fantastic attacker, really strong, and definitely one of the highlights of the deck. And in case you haven't noticed, all the dragon type attackers are colorless, so you can play literally any type with them, depending on what you feel is missing from the deck, or what you feel is the best deck right now that needs countered. I'm personally going with the fighting variant, so I am playing 1 copy of Buzzwole for the Sledgehammer. Obviously, if you don't have to put the lady down, it means your opponent can't play around Sledgehammer, which is doing maximum damage, which is just a really good option to have, because Zoroark could maybe start trading prices favorably with you if they target down your Alterias very aggressively. So the Buzzwole just means that you can start taking Zoroarks off the board and really cutting off their draw engine at the source. Then, really good one-prize attacker is the Tapu Koko, DCA 20 on each of your opponent's Pokemon, and of course the free retreat is just really good. It means you can Guzma Chain very easily. It's not as relevant, but I still think it is good, especially when you're softening up Pokemon. Just it means that Alteria's boosted attacks and the Dragon's boosted attacks really hit home and guarantee 1-shots. And lastly, for the the non-EXGX Pokemon is one Marshadow. I believe this is definitely a card you should play. It just lets your Ultra Balls and your Mysterious Treasures do a lot more for you. It means you can do stuff like Lily, play down all your Alterias, and then Mysterious Treasure again for draw 4 and put your opponent down to 4, which just means you can maybe just create that resource divide that really hits home with your opponent, and you can win out from there. And one copy of Tapu Lele GX. I'm not 100% happy with playing this card, but I think it is necessary just to how important it is to get the Lance Prism Star going at the opportune time. Lance Prism Star is one of the reasons why this deck is so good, due to Altaria being an evolved Pokemon, so it can be a bit cloggy, a bit slow, but you can play this card only if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Search your deck for 2 Dragon Pokemon, doesn't have to be basics, just 2 Dragon Pokemon, and put them straight onto your bench. So it means you are bypassing the evolution rule, and you're placing Dancey Prism Stars onto the bench. It's just nuts. It's a really good card to have. So usually I wouldn't play Tapu Lele GX in a Shrine deck, but Lance is just too pivotal, it's just too important to use at the right times. And obviously if you do stall a little bit in your early turns, or you just can't get going, having your Ultra Balls that become supporters is really good. Obviously surrounding 2 prizes, not ideal, but I think it is worth having it as a one-off. Then we're moving on to the trainers for Mysterious Treasure, because they're all dragons except for Swablu. Unfortunately, it is a colorless. So Mysterious Treasure just goes really far in the deck. 1 Nest Ball, you can definitely up this if you want. I feel that one's good enough. Just that extra ball search to place down stuff like the Swablu's turn 1. Then 1 Palpad to recycle Guzmas, Kukui, Cynthias. You are very supporter heavy in the deck and very reliant on them. You want to be using one every single turn, be it a aggressive Guzma or to setting up for future turns with a draw supporter. So Palpad really gives you that longevity that you usually wouldn't have without it. 1 Stretcher, I do feel this card could go to 2, depending on how aggressive Altaria gets targeted down. You maybe want to shuffle back in an entire line, or just add back an Altaria straight away to evolve up your Swablu and start the counter attack. So I could definitely see this card going to 2, but it is 1 currently, and 4 Ultra Ball, because yeah, it's insane. Searching out every combo piece you need. Then for the stadiums, we're only playing Shrine of Punishment. Devoured Field was incredibly tempting, but Shrine of Punishment is another damage modifier in itself when you're going against non-EXGX decks, so it helps out your math big time, and this card is just the nuts. And usually when you're going against a Zoroark deck, they will play Devoured Plains down anyway, which helps you, so you've basically got access to 6 stadiums against Zoroark, which is just really good, really helpful. So I picked Shrine over Devoured Plains for that exact reason. Then for the supporters, we are playing 3 copies of Cynthia. Cynthia is just the best draw supporter right now. I don't want to play 4 because I feel like it can get cloggy, and you have other draw supporters and just supporters in general that you want to play. So 3 Cynthia I think is correct. Then 4 copies of Guzma, because you want every bit of damage to count and not be wasted. So the 4 Guzma I think is really key, just to see it as soon as. Then obviously the 1 copy of Lance Prism, can't play anymore because it's a Prism Star, unfortunately, but it is probably one of, if not the best card in the deck. Then 3 copies of Lily. Thanks to playing Tapu Lele, you can't actually see this turn 1, but I wouldn't recommend it unless your hand is absolutely garbage. But having Lily is the 2nd best draw supporter in the format right now, so Lily at 3, and then 3 copies of Professor Kukui, because it is a draw supporter, but it's also a damage modifier. Something the deck has lots of already, but just having that extra damage to turn a 2-shot into a 1-shot, or just cementing that 2-shot is really, really good. Professor Kukui at 3. Then lastly, for the supporters, we are playing 1 copy of Tate and Lies. I could definitely see us going to more than 1, mostly for the switch effect, in all honesty. Just being able to get stuck with Guzma, or having to maybe place, if you haven't got access to Coco, for example, Tate and Lies, it does come in handy. But obviously it is a pretty good draw supporter in itself, so 1 copy of Tate and Lies currently. And lastly, for the trainers, 3 copies of Choice Band. I wouldn't play 4 because Shrine decks are just so big right now. You don't want as many deck cards as you could have with 4 Choice Band, 4 Shrine. So I do believe 3/3 is correct in that sense. But if other Shrine decks are maybe not as relevant in your local meta, then definitely bump this up to 4. But currently, if you're going to like a regionals, internationals, 3 I believe is correct. And for the energy, 4 copies of DCE because the cards blow out. All the big attackers need a DCE to attack, so 4 copies of that. And then, as I said, you can take your pick of supporting Pokemon, because you just need a basic energy thanks to a mass and the other Drampa. So 8 copies of the fighting energy for the Buzzwole, and obviously the basic energy for the deck. So that's the deck list, guys. I think this is a really, really strong deck that it can just amass, no pun intended, damage out of absolutely nowhere. It's a really aggressive deck. Yes, it's a bit more setup dependent than other Shrine decks, but when that setup is achieved, it just snowballs damage out of nowhere. It's the same sort of theory as the Malamar Shrine decks, that yes, you're playing a stage 1, but if they start targeting down the stage 1, then that's okay, because they're not answering the attackers in themselves. So it means Drampa will still poke away, Sledgehammer, Latios will still attack away. So I believe it has flaws in itself because it's setup dependent, but just the setup is so worth it, and it's such a powerful deck. I do definitely recommend picking this deck up and trying it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Please comment, rate, subscribe, check out the rest of the videos, tell us what you think.